Hello, folks. Welcome to tonight's examination of a beer that you probably won't ever see. Now, you may see Abita beers if you live outside of Louisiana, but chances are you won't see this one. I got strong light right there. Abita Golden. If you look on the Abita website, they have a fairly good description of Abita Golden. And I'm joined tonight by Brandon from, you're in Louisiana, Mississippi tonight.
I'm in Mississippi tonight.
Okay, that's what I thought. Mississippi. Brandon suggested this, I believe. Why did you suggest this one?
Well, I suggested mostly because it's one of those beers that it is Louisiana brewed, but you don't see it too much outside of the Louisiana market as it is. It's even hard to find in Louisiana.
Yeah, I was lucky. I was at Martin Wine Cellar in Metairie, and they had singles of it. And then it turned out that the singles were the same price as if I'd have bought a six-pack, which was $8.99. So I said, oh, no, take that back, $8. So I said, well, I'll just get a single for me, and then there's two guys coming to visit next month, and I'm going to give that to them, each one a bottle, because I know they're not going to be able to get it up there north of the Ohio River.
Right.
I know some people that have kind of an eye on Abita, and they will tell you that they think the Abita Golden is maybe the best one they make. And wouldn't you agree that most Abita drinkers have probably never tried Abita Golden?
I would agree. Usually the amber is the one they try the most. Turbo Dog is very common. And of course, strawberry. I mean, strawberry is a big deal when that's released, but overall, I mean, that's Golden kind of falls by the wayside.
Now, let's give the audience. We don't have anybody watching right now, but of course, people could watch years later some of these videos. I have sometimes people commenting on the video I made in 2010 as though it's happening now, so it's kind of funny. But I mean, usually it's still relevant. But this company was started in 1986, so they're 29 years old. And I believe Abita Golden was one of their first beers. They kind of like had Abita Golden, of course, their Abita Amber, their flagship, and their Turbo Dog. And then it expanded, and now they have a huge portfolio, as you know. And they produce some beers that you almost will never see because they're just little one-shot beers.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't run across it. Now you want to give the specs out on this one? I was looking at that earlier.
Yeah, this is 4.2% ABV. So it's about the same ABV as a Bud Light.
Yeah.
So it's a little less than, say, a Pabst Blue Ribbon, but comparable. And of course, it's brewed in the style of the Munich Helles Lager. They use Pilsner malts, and they use German hops in there, the Pearl and the Vanguard. So it does come across as a German-style lager, and it's very crisp and clean.
Yeah. Now, the calorie count is 125, so it's a pretty light beer. It's semi-clear, right? Like there's some haze to it, don't you find?
Yeah, it is.
And I didn't get much of a head of foam on it. I did have some water vapor coming out when I poured it. It's been a good while since I've had this beer. It's probably been over a year. Not made with any adjuncts. No corn or rice. Water, barley malt, hops, and yeast. Now this guy that I'm a friend of, he really drinks it a lot, and he is really into the lighter beers, right? So this guy I used to teach school with, he loved Pilsner Urquell, which is similar to this in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think Pilsner Urquell is what, 4.8?
Something like that, yeah.
And but he's not a bad person because he only really likes light beers. Some people in the beer world would say, what, who's this idiot? But that is what he enjoys. So if you gave him a stout or a imperial IP, you know, an extra double IPA or whatever, he wouldn't want to drink it because he wouldn't like it. Or a red ale or anything. He just likes light lagers. So, oh well. The cost in your town is about the same.
When I bought it for the 6-pack for about $7.99 at Jennings, Louisiana. I found a 6-pack over there.
Okay, yeah, that's sometimes stores will have Abita on sale for you'll see them $6.99, huh? Occasionally, not often.
Occasionally. Yeah, very cheap, but it's gone up in price.
Yeah. Now, you know, for the longest time, and even now, if you go to a bar or a restaurant and you ask for Abita, you're gonna almost assuredly get the Abita Amber, right?
Right.
Amber lager, and I don't remember the alcohol level there, but I guess it's around 4.8. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you all right. I don't remember the ABV on that one.
That's my guess. You know, I did a video a little while ago. I posted a video about me drinking Abita Turbo Dog at Yale College Inn in New Orleans. So I went to a private party there today because they're not open on Sundays, but they do private parties. So I had my camera and I said, "Oh, let me do Turbo Dog." At first I did the Southern Drawl from Great Raft, which is a really great beer, and on draft it's really, really great, right? So then I said, let me have Turbo Dog on draft. I've had it on draft before, but I knew I didn't have I had never done a video. So it was so wonderful. But I was saying on the video, oh, that beer is in the 4% range. And something in the back of my head was saying, you're wrong, but I didn't say anything else. And then when I got home, I had to look that up, and I felt embarrassed. It was 5.6%. A dark brown ale. Now, I am a big fan of Turbo Dog, okay, but I don't know how you feel about Turbo Dog.
I like Turbo Dog quite a bit. So it used to be one of my go-tos, but not so much anymore.
I was a fan of Abita. What is this sediment? I was a fan of Abita's red ale.
Oh, me too. Yes, I remember that one. They replaced it with the spring IPA in their seasonals because they're jumping on the bandwagon like a lot of other breweries. Let's just release a lot of IPAs as seasonals.
Yeah. Now, those IPAs that they released were so inferior to the Abita red ale, though, didn't you think?
I thought so. It's unfortunate that we lost a pretty good seasonal there.
Oh, my goodness. Now, they had a very interesting wheat beer. It was called Abita Wheat, and it was a wheat lager, which when do you ever see a wheat lager?
I know. It's not often you see that. They replaced it with the lemon wheat or something like that.
That's okay. The wheat lager, at first I didn't like the wheat lager because I thought it was too dull. But then as I started drinking it, I said, oh, I was wrong. But now let's get back to this golden. What do you pick up on the aroma? It's certainly distinctive in a way, huh?
Well, for me, it's one of those beers that it smells like beer, and you do get some of those. They get that grain smell. Do get some of those hop aromas, but it's not very strong because it's 11 IBUs. But you know, it's there, just not very strong.
11. That's in your Pabst Blue Ribbon range, I believe.
Yep.
I'm picking up a yeastiness, almost like a sourdough bread. I get that in a lot of beers. Well, no, I retract that. I get that in some beers, sourdough bread. I'm getting that in my sample. I don't see a date anywhere on this bottle.
Yeah, check the front side. Mine says Best Buy 8/16/15.
Oh, you mean the label or the glass?
On the glass itself.
Oh wait, okay. Mine might say February 22nd, but that could be an 8. Well, regardless, It doesn't smell or taste stale. I think it has a rich aroma. It's not like profound, like, you know how some IPAs, if it's a double IPA, you open the bottle and you can just start smelling it. And it's like really, this one you got to kind of get down into it, but it's sort of, it's a full aroma when you get down into it. It's not jumping out the glass.
Right.
Although some of those that I'm talking about, they'll jump out the glass in the aroma, and then you taste them and you say, oh, well.
Very good.
You can tell the audience about the flavor of Abita Golden.
Well, Abita Golden, it actually tastes a lot fuller than your standard light beers. It does, I'd say it tastes a little better than, say, I put it above, let's say, common American lagers like Pabst Blue Ribbon or some of those others, maybe even Miller High Life, depending upon my mood. Which also, this beer is very good on draft, by the way.
Oh,
But, the flavor's good. The hops aren't very prominent. I mean, it is 11 IBUs, but they are there. Just they're subtle.
Now it's got a light to medium mouthfeel, right?
That's right.
It has some body. The finish is, I guess you'd say, dry and crisp.
I would say so.
This beer, the Abita Light is 4% alcohol and is like 115 calories or something. So this is kind of like a strong light beer or a light regular beer. I don't know what you would call it. Kind of falls within that. But would you rather drink this or Abita Amber?
I would much rather drink this beer over Abita Amber any day of the week.
Yes, and I'm going to take, now I'm picking up a little paperiness here. Some people say that's not good, that's oxidation, whatever, and that could be true. I don't know. I drank the Barrina from Central America and the Toña from Central America, and I believe I picked up a little paperiness on those. Also maybe the Centennial from Costa Rica, but regardless, to me, it's, and you can tell me what you think about this. Abita Amber is very thin in the flavor. There's not much flavor to it. It has color, it's amber, but it's sort of like that Ziegenbock. It's like thin. There's the flavor is very thin. There's not much there. It doesn't have much presence. Whereas this one, this Abita Golden, this orphan child of Abita in a way, this ignored brand of Abita, has a depth of flavor. And I was thinking about that when I was washing some stuff earlier, how some beers and a lot of craft beers have this thin flavor, but there's no depth to it. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but this one has a depth of flavor, like there's layers of it. None of them are like exquisite or elaborate, but there's layers of it. It's kind of like you go through a little flavor ladder. I don't know. Am I making any sense?
You are making sense. I mean, when you compare it to, say, Abita Amber, you look at Abita Amber and said, okay, it's a little thinner on the flavor. I'm paying more for that. When I can get a more flavorful Michelob Amberbock or Ziegenbock for slightly cheaper. So it's one of those things where it's just, yeah, I know that's kind of would ruffle some people's feathers there, but, and I'm not knocking on Abita Amber as a bad beer. I'm not. No. But for what it is, am I going to pay more for that than I would for something I think tastes a little better and is cheaper? And the answer is no.
No. And, wow, I'm about to say some things. Now, you know, I've been drinking so many IPAs, and I was talking about this. I didn't post a video yet, but I was talking about how it seemed like back before 2011, 2010, you would drink IPAs that were so exquisite, you know, like, oh wow, you know. But then I started noticing in the last few years that there was some kind of problem. Like they all started tasting like pineapple, like canned Dole pineapple, but more like canned Surefine pineapple, you know, like a store brand pineapple that maybe like cheaper ones than Dole would purchase. And or people say, no, it's not pineapple, fool, it's grapefruit. Well, I do realize there's a difference between those two fruits. Yes, there's also that grapefruit thing too with some of the more bitter IPAs or tart ones. But still in all, years ago, I don't remember the IPAs having that profound pineapple or grapefruit note or profile or whatever you want to call it. You would run across IPAs that were floral or piney, something like that. But I know what I'm talking. I know I can remember. I can remember stuff. So it's so disheartening. And I'm bringing this up because I'm about to talk about Abita, Giacomo IPA, and Wrought Iron IPA. The Giacomo, to me, that's a great IPA because it reminds me of the good old days before everything was canned pineapple. You don't get that with Giacomo. Giacomo, you get like a really correct IPA. Now, some people say, was it bitter enough? Maybe they, I don't know. Do you know what English IPAs were like, you know, when the 1800s were around? They were not, they were like Liberty Ale from Anchor. Liberty Ale is like a traditional IPA. So it's funny that people will say, I drank that Samuel Smith's India Ale. It wasn't bitter like it should be. Those people in England don't know a thing about IPAs. Oh, they don't, do they? But
right.
Do you think that the Giacomo is sort of like more traditional IPA?
Yeah, you forced me to, when we talked about Giacomo a while back, you forced me to rethink Giacomo. I might have to revisit it. But from what I do remember, Giacomo is a lot easier to drink than some of those IPAs out there that are just almost bitter bombs or grapefruit bombs or stuff like that. That said, okay,
yeah, and I don't even care if they're bitter or harsh or you know, hard to take. I don't mind all that. I mind that they don't taste good and they taste like canned pineapple, and that I don't enjoy them, and I'm so glad when I'm finished with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the problem I have with it. Abita Giacomo is mellow. It's easy to drink, but it has a lot of enjoyable flavors. But then on the other hand, the Wrought Iron IPA, which came out last year, I was like, what's Abita doing? This tastes like all the other junk I've been screaming and hollering about. I don't know if you tried the Wrought Iron.
I haven't tried it yet. Been saying I've been needing to, but
well, let me say this to you. Well, I'm not gonna tell you what you're gonna think about it.
Right.
Try it, but in my opinion, it's woefully inferior to the Abita Giacomo IPA. I said, good grief, not again. You know, that's why I say not again when I drink those. But I'm finished with mine. I can drink this all night. Now, let's say, like if I said to myself, you know, I'm going to start becoming a drunk. I'm going to become an alcoholic. I'm going to drink all the time instead of what I normally do, which is 22 beers a week. This is literally the truth. 22 a week. Except for this past week, I drank 23 because it was my birthday and I cheated and I drank an extra Old Milwaukee Light, which is not exactly drinking a whole lot extra. 1% alcohol, right?
Right.
I said, it's my birthday. People are saying, that's how it starts. That's how it starts. That's true. Unless you're like me and you can put the brakes on. But let's say, for the sake of argument, I was going to become just a roaring drunk. This could be one of the beers that I would do if I was going to drink on an endless 24-hour cycle because it's so mellow and easy going, you know. But of course, I'm not going to do that cycle. It's tempting though because it's so good. I could see myself waking up at 2 in the morning, drinking 2, go back to sleep, get up, eat breakfast, drink more, you know. But it's like, nah, I don't want to get into that lifestyle. That's not me. I do, but I know some people that it is.
Oh, I do too.
Beer is their life and beer is their wife. But they turned a fun hobby into a disastrous life decision. But anyway, let's focus on positive things.
Exactly.
But it's enjoyable. I mean, this beer is so good. Is it world class? Obviously not. But you could maybe, to me, if I was rating it, we're just examining it. I could probably be talked into going into the A range on it.
I definitely could as well. Like I said, I mean, if I consider Pabst Blue Ribbon an A beer, and I say this is slightly better than Pabst Blue Ribbon, just from my personal opinion, then I'm saying, yeah, this is definitely an A beer.
Yeah. Now, would I buy this over Pabst? Not necessarily, because I can go to, like, they might have a sale at Mathern's Pabst Blue Ribbon, an 18-pack for $10.49, or I mean, now that's a really good deal, and I can get a lot more for a lot less price. And I wouldn't necessarily say that Pabst Blue Ribbon is worse than this. Now, some people complain about Pabst because they use corn syrup, and it's an adjunct. And we know the adjunct issue is controversial, and I cannot say no, it doesn't matter. It does matter, but it does matter to other people more than maybe you or myself. If I drink Pabst Blue Ribbon, yes, I'm aware they use corn syrup, but do I still enjoy the beer? Yeah, I do. I have to admit it. I don't adore it. I don't say, oh, it's so wonderful, but I do like it.
Right, I'm the same way with Pabst Blue Ribbon. Personally, I prefer Schlitz, but that's just another talking point right there.
Now, oh yeah, Schlitz, that's one of the best mass-produced beers on a planet, I think. I'm talking about adjunct beers.
Right.
I want to bring up one more topic, two more topics. First, Abita's Andy Gator. I used to really like Andy Gator 10 years ago. I mean, I would drink that stuff and try to get other people to drink it. I mean, I was really big into Andy Gator. And Andy Gator is called Abita's Helles Doppelbock. Originally, it was called Andy Gator Malt Liquor. This is in fact the case. Abita would prefer that would never be brought up. But considering that most 8% malt liquors are categorically really a Helles Doppelbock, except with the adjunct, it makes sense. Now, but I've learned to hate Abita Andy Gator because it's nasty to me. I don't know how you feel about Andy Gator.
Well, Andy Gator, to me, it has its own distinct character. It has its own bite. You can have one of those, especially now it's available in 12-ounce bottles. So if I get a crate for Andy Gator, I have to buy a bottle. I mean, a big bomber of it, a 22-ounce bottle. So, okay, 12 ounces. I'm done. I can not think about Andy Gator for a long time or whatever. But it has its own character. I wouldn't say I hate Andy Gator, but for what it is, personally, I prefer to save money and say go buy a Schlitz malt liquor, a 40 that if I could find it, or stuff like that, or even a 6-pack of 16-ounce cans of the Schlitz malt liquor would have cost me about $6, as opposed to say.
Yeah, the Andy Gator is like this. It's like, okay, it's 8% alcohol, right? And it's about it's a lot more. It's about $9, $10 like a 6-pack, right?
Yeah, it's not cheap.
They must have to use extra malt to get it high. So because they don't use any adjuncts. So that thing is like, you drink it and you grit your teeth. Like, I would never get addicted to that because I couldn't stand drinking it too much, you know. So I was like, it's like that, you know. Now, so why would I buy Indicator that's going to make me grit my teeth when I could go right to Mathern's down the aisle in the same cooler and get Ice House Edge by Miller, Ice House Edge, also 8%, for $2.99 for a 4-pack. And that's a harsh beer. It's 8%. It's not for little kids. It's not for neophyte beer drinkers, or et cetera, right?
Right.
It's a pretty devastating beer. I mean, if you drank 2 pints of Ice House Edge and you get in that car, you're going to see that flashlight in your face. Now, deservedly so, because you shouldn't be driving drinking Ice House Edge, fool. But that beer is smoother than Indicator, and it's more drinkable, and I don't go when I drink it. Now, I know it's made with corn syrup, but is that a valid thing that I'm bringing up?
It's a valid thing. At the end of the day, it comes down to drinkability. Is that, yeah, there are some beers that are fine to drink once in a while, but the drinkability of this beer higher, so that would say, okay, I would rank this higher than drinkability, and that's a lot more important. At the end of the day, you have to be able to stand drinking the beer. If you can't stand drinking the beer, then it's just not that good.
Right. Now, people would say, yeah, but, you know, Indicator has a lot more flavor than Ice House Edge, which is sort of a flat Miller Brewing Company type flavor. That's true. But is this full flavor really enjoyable? I mean, if it's full and it's nasty, and this one is sort of flat and nice, well, like Natty Daddy, that's smoother than the damn, excuse my language, the doggone Indicator. But I mean, I would, of course, if somebody said, oh, let's do an examination of Indicator, well, you know I'm going to go buy the stuff and do it.
Right.
I'm not going to not do it. And the last point I wanted to bring up, you know, we're talking about depth of flavor versus thin flavor, like there's nothing there below the surface. I mean, I've made it like this thing for 19 years, drinking all these craft beers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the mass-produced ones. Here's what I was thinking about. A lot of craft beers, man, they have such a rich depth of flavor, and they're so, it's like I said, this little ladder of flavor. But then some of them, maybe half of them, I don't know, they're just like, it's this and there's nothing. You ever get that?
Yes, I have. Really, some of them are just, I've had some that are just really bland. And
right. It's like, why did I pay $9 for this bomber? It's this initial flavor, but there's no depth of it. And here's something I know people will say, oh, here he goes, that he's a shill for the mass-produced beer companies. I am not a shill for the mass-produced beer companies. I don't care who wins. Not that, I don't know why there has to be a winner, but what I've noticed about your Anheuser-Busch beers, your Coors Brewing, Miller, Pabst, a lot of their beers, maybe almost all of their beers, have this depth of flavor. And a lot of people, if you're like into only craft beer, and you know, a lot of the craft beer movement is like really overt flavors, right? Like they can't deal with subtlety, you know? So they have a hard time picking up like subtleties. But if you drink something like Miller High Life, like this girl, she started doing these reviews. They're fascinating. She's called Asian Beer Girl. Whatever, Asian beer reviews. I started watching those today. Well, she's really great to watch because she doesn't understand that there's beers she's supposed to hate. Right? So she's just like buying different beers and drinking them. And then some people are going to have to sit her down and say, now look, if you're going to be accepted in the beer drinking community, there's certain beers you're really not supposed to like. And you made a video where you said Miller Genuine Draft was a really good beer, and that is not going to be acceptable. You know, it's funny because she was talking about how Miller Genuine Draft had this like depth of character, depth of flavor, And I was saying, you're going to get in so much trouble, young lady. But I do believe that, and this has nothing to do with Abita golden. But a lot of these macro beers have a depth of flavor that has to come from, it has to come from this like scientific approach to brewing. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking crazy, but I'm thinking it. I may as well tell you what I'm thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, I said it, dude. What do you think about that idea that a lot of them have this like depth of flavor that is hard to perceive if you're rushing into it or you're having a bad attitude about it, whatever.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're not really drinking it to, if you're just drinking it to just either you want to pound it or you just want to hate it or whatever, it's oh well, oh sure, I'll take this free beer even though you know I'm too good for it, but hey, I don't want to be rude, and you just drink with that attitude and say, oh well, I'm not picking up everything here. It's like you're not going to pick up on the flavors of say a Miller High Life or a Miller Genuine Draft or Milwaukee's Best or a Schlitz or whatever. But you, okay, then you go up front, say, okay, you get this fly-by-night craft brewery out there, or some of the well-established ones that, you know, some of them just, they put stuff out there that's garbage. And some of them put stuff that's really good. And props to you for doing that. Some of those beers like Anchor Steam, that has a depth of flavor to it. I can just sit down and just drink that. I can sit down and drink a 6-pack of that and not think too much about it.
Anchor Steam is really fantastic. I was thinking about, I'll drink Coors Light the other night. You see, a lot of these like Coors Light drinkers, you know, they're like denigrated in the beer drinking community, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you get on, if you get on these beer groups, they say, oh, those people, they're so lost. They're so lost in the wilderness because all they drink is Coors Light. But they probably do enjoy the flavors of Coors Light because see, they didn't approach it with the bad attitudes, right? They're sitting there at the bar, like at the party today, they're drinking Coors Light and they're saying, man, I'm really enjoying this, right? They don't know they're supposed to hate it. So they're drinking it and they saying, oh yeah, it's so good. You know, I love drinking Coors Light. I was talking to a guy today, say he loved drinking Coors Light and Michelob Ultra. So, you know, he would really be ostracized. So, but not that he would care at all, I can assure you. But so then you take the wrong approach. So you just immediately discount it, right? You just say, it's Coors Light. It's objectively bad. It has no quality. It is worthless. It should not be produced. I hate it. You know, all these things you could say about it. It's been around since 1978. But I was drinking that beer, you know, and it just hit me like I was drinking it. I said, wow, this beer has so much complexity to it. And people say, Coors Light has complexity. I'm going to immediately unsubscribe to your channel, you idiot. Instead of doing that, well, of course you could do that. No one's obligated to watch anything. But instead of doing that, how about go and buy a 6-pack of Coors Light, maybe get a pint cans because you get a lot, and drink it and try to think about it for a little bit. Instead of having a bad attitude, think about it. So that was the second point I wanted to make. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think it's a good point to make. It's just one of those things where I remember I was at an event, and one guy told me, this guy's about my age, said, I'm over 30 years old. I've never even tried a Budweiser, and I never will. I said, well, I like Budweiser. I think it's a pretty good beer.
I never will. See, that's a real bad problem. So it's like, and I don't want anybody watching this to think that I am ripping on craft beer drinkers, because probably, I don't know about probably, but a whole lot of craft beer drinkers are open-minded. Like they will try everything, right?
Right.
But there's that element that we're aware of. And they have this idea that you cannot try stuff because somehow you'll get in trouble with your community, or it's like you're betraying the cause. Imagine that you're betraying the cause, and we're talking about beverages, something you could buy at the store and drink. So here's some guy who's 30 years old, and he's already decided he will never try Budweiser. But he's open-minded, you see.
Yeah.
He's open-minded, and he'll never try Budweiser because all the closed-minded people drink Budweiser. I don't even have to expound on that. That sort of like explains itself.
Right. So it really just comes down to, say, well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just beer. You try what you like. If you like what you like, it's all that matters.
Right. And I don't know if there's that kind of argument in the breakfast cereal community. You know, like maybe there's people that get extremely angry. Like you have your monster cereal camp who only eats your Count Chocula or Frankenberry. And then you have your Life cereal camp that will only eat Life cereal, or whatever. You have your micro cereal camp that would only eat some obscure breakfast cereal that you and I have never heard of. But you get the point. I don't think there's anybody that argues over breakfast cereal.
I don't think so either.
A lot of people eat it. They
Yeah.
have an aisle in a store full of breakfast cereal.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, well, you had a good idea to look over Abita Golden. It's an interesting beer. If you think of some other ones, I know you wanted to look at Ziegenbock, which is another one that most people haven't heard of. I was talking to somebody earlier, and he said, I never heard of that beer. I said, it's actually made by Anheuser-Busch. He was shocked, like, wow, I never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ziegenbock, we're going to do that soon. Okay, any last comments about Abita Golden? My last comment is I like it. It's not the greatest thing, but it's way far from the worst thing.
I think Abita Golden's an excellent beer, an A beer as far as I'm concerned, and
That's
I'm
excellent.
glad to have it again.
Definitely. Definitely. I was so glad I found it. All right. Thanks, folks, for watching this video production. I hope you may not agree with it, but I hope you enjoyed it.